All right, everybody, sit down, relax, get into a comfortable position. We have another surf report ready to go. And this one's a tricky one, but I think you're going to love it. I already love it. I love the fact that I can offer you some ray of hope. And this one is for April 8th, April 14th. Our goals are still the same. We're going to triangulate for the influence. Let's get into our position, and we're going to triangulate for the solution. And two are the very different things. The influence is what we're all going to have a chance of feeling, and that's far different most of the time than what we're actually needing to do to maximize that particular week in terms of what the energy is showing us. So in this one, it's going to be tricky because there's some more opportunities with these sextiles. Let me get my pointer out here. There's a lot of sextiles in the astrology, and those represent more opportunities. That's what we had last week. Did everybody get their opportunities? I sure grabbed a few, but it wasn't an easy ride. And I know a lot of you have felt maybe the suffering or the challenges and whatnot. And it's sort of that same strain coming into this week where, why do I need to be going through this suffering or hardship or decision or inner conflict? There's always going to be a diamond in the rough, a diamond in the haystack. You just need to know where to look. That's what this week is about. The sextiles are hidden behind really hard and pressurized squares and a new moon and a lot of energy in a lot of different places. You can is commensurate with this big circle. The purple circle is the astrology, and in that one little corner is the I-Ching. They overlap nicely, but you can see that there's a lot of different energies in the astrology. And so here we are. On one little corner of the astrological layout is attention to detail. That sort of sounds like Virgo, but we're going to show you how there's a trick here where there's really nothing in Virgo to speak of, not even much of earth signs. It's mainly fire this week, which can really produce some trouble. Fire wants to boom, go impulsively, go out, get stuff done, etc., etc. But this is saying, hey, we need to pause and not just reflect, but think about what you're doing before you do it. Okay, that's ultimately what you need to do. And why? Because the gem or the diamond is in the haystack somewhere. So you need to stop and really find the details first, and then use your fire influence to go do your stuff. Now, I find really interesting that the Dreambot is a little bit more sided towards the collective environment. It's like a time-space sort of thing, the 3D reality, I call it, including the universe. So all of it together, it's like the collective village. That's what I'm seeing. But it also includes this same thing, this hidden elemental thing. So the I-Ching, the Dreambot's the same, and all these little sextiles that are laying opportunities down, but they're behind these bigger, more influential energies. Okay, so that's where we are. That's the summary slide. We're going to talk about the Dreambot. We're going to talk about the I-Ching, which, by the way, has no change lines in it. And so the influence is also the solution. And that's an interesting little take. So lots of cool things to talk about. I have an improved astrology slide. So here we go. Let's get started. And before we talk about the Dreambot, make sure that you have subscribed, especially if you're new here. We include a lot of different technologies to triangulate for the influence. And one of those is the collective unconscious. Let's zoom in. This is people's dreams from recent hours, the past 24 hours. And a number one word, village. Interesting, eh? village, environment, landscape. That gives you this idea of just the layout, the environment, the collective village. I think the collective universe is there. So even the space, the bigger, broader galaxy is still a collective village. So anyway, that is what it is. It's sort of like a space sort of a thing. Not in terms of like outer space, but just space, 3D reality. And then the red arrows is more of the hidden elements. It's still the physical reality, but it's like deeper in. It's the hidden side of things. It's the atoms, the electrons, maybe the spirit world, the other reality, the multiverse stuff we can't see, but it's still there. And I have a linguistics here, which I thought was really interesting. Palace, hiding, wants, ride, underground, deal. So there's a hidden hand here. There's a want to work things out, and they want a special deal, and they're hiding. And the palace implies royalty. I don't know. Maybe the leadership is hiding now. It's just a question mark, and I find it really interesting that an underground is there. I don't know where this linguistic stops. Maybe it stops under underground because they're hiding, going underground, or it's an underground deal. You could look at it either way. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide. I'm not hard trenched on these linguistics, but I think they're important enough to talk about. Let's get into the astrology. Here's my improved chart, folks. And you probably didn't want me to improve it because now you can see at the end of February, that looks like a lot of squares. I put the red squares in for the ones that are squares. The others are conjuncts. They're both red. I haven't figured out how to change that color yet. I don't know if I have that option even. But this is the one that was missing last time that got me troubleshooting this slide, and we got it fixed. So there's your Saturn square Uranus. It's been going on seemingly forever, and it's still going. And eventually this Saturn, I believe, goes into retrograde to keep this thing alive. Wonderful, eh? I mean, I'm talking, I think the whole year, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And then you've got Mars square Neptune. We've been covering that well. It goes exact on the 9th. We're in between these black vertical gates. And so, we'll be talking about all these alignments here, but you can look forward to quite a bit more of that same squared energy, that pressurized energy. We have Venus transitioning into Taurus at the end. It's really going to be at the last day of our CIRF week. And we have Mars going into Cancer later on this month. And we have Pluto going into retrograde at the end of the month of April. So there's your overview. Let's drill down day by day. This slide, I'll talk about all of the different influences. I'm not going to cover these every single day because they don't change all that frequently. We still have that Mars that's it's got a lot of influences on it, and including a 90 square. So it's a pressurized willpower, and Yang is pressurized. It does not have free flowing energy with Neptune, the planet of fantasy and dreams. And so it's hard to imagine maybe doing stuff. Mars is still, 9 degrees. So not really a conjunction there, but still, energetically entangled with the North Node. And so you might still feel that future sense there, looking ahead and planning and wanting to cover things for the future. But again, conflicted with, in order to see the future, you have to imagine it because it doesn't exist yet. And that is all Neptune. Not that Neptune is all about future. I'm just saying that in order to imagine future, the imagine part, there's Neptune, and it's conflicted with it. So it's hard to imagine the future. So there's a sort of a contradiction there. But Mars is outside of the North Node in terms of conjunction. So going forward, Mars will get further and further away from that necessity to feel away or sense the future. But then you've got the easy energy with Mars over to Jupiter. And this one is expansive and adaptable. And you've got, of course, with a trine with the air signs. So things make sense. And so, although I'm sort of conflicted or pressurized to what I'm imagining, and that's a problem in and of itself, but that pressure gets outletted to Jupiter, so higher wisdom, and back and forth. But what I really wanted to point out here, well, I got one more pressure to talk about, which is the deep inner power of Pluto is square to Venus and the Sun. And the Venus and Sun are 2 degrees away. And so it's Sun in Aries, more of what about me? It's about my needs. It's about finding my identity. And it's together, ironically, with the planet of togetherness. And so relationship and harmony, and maybe even finding harmony in self, maybe having a relationship with self. And that's sort of a third planet, if you will. When you combine those two together, that energy is then squared double to the power of your subconscious, the deep inner power of Pluto. And then we have to talk about the death and rebirth cycle and that Pluto influence. But the point is, this is pumping power, pumping energy, and pressurizing this alignment. And so there's a need to sense the deeper things, but it's subconscious for a reason. I mean, we name it subconscious because it's below your conscious awareness. So there might be a physical manifestation of some sort of feeling, but it's a pressure feeling. It's a conflicted feeling that only indication that you're going to get that this alignment is affecting you is sort of a pressure on self, your relationship with others, your relationship with self. What can I get from others? The Aries and Venus is more of a sensualism that's about what my needs are, not yours. But, hey, Venus is harmonious. So you got at least that. Then you've got Mercury and Chiron together. And that's thoughts around needing to be healed. Maybe you can realize, because you got Mercury and Aries, it's more about what, just more of the Aries sensation of around my own identity. And the irony here is that Chiron's there. And so can you think about others in terms of what they can do for you? But it's honestly with good intention, providing that help for them, healing them, helping them heal. And then in return, you get to be healed yourself. But all that said, we have 5 sextiles, 4 squares. Sextiles are those opportunities, and they're nice. They're nice but they're hiding behind these pressure systems, like we talk about in weather systems. And this is a big pressure system that dominates the scene right now, with the dominant force of most planets here, or not most, but a lot of planets are in Aries. So you got that extra Aries sensation and a lot of pressure in that. So there's even more emphasis on that Aries experience. Fire, got to get stuff done. What about me? Impulsiveness, action, but hidden away, real quiet. There's the sextiles. There's 5 of them. There's opportunities there. That's what we're talking about with these diamonds or gems. Is we're going to learn how to really get in there. That's more about the I-Ching reading and the Rave Mandala when we get to the solution, about how to find these diamonds in the rough. Okay, but this one I'm just showing you are there. Mars has them. So there's an opportunity in your willpower and your doing. Oh, and how do I get rid of that? There. Sorry about that. But I successfully did it on the fly, and that's great. All right, Venus. We already talked about that. I'm not going to talk about all these little opportunities in here. We'll do these maybe day by day. So let's get to the next one. Most of these influences, by the way, are carrying on throughout the entire week. Friday, the 9th. The main thing here is that the moon, emotional Cancer sort of moon, is passing Neptune, another watery planet. And so it's extra dreamy, extra emotional. There's even that Mars, pressure in there. And so you might have, some of us might get the information through the dreams. It might feel urgent. And that's what this square here feels to Neptune, with that emotional complex together with it in Pisces. So very transcendent, very spiritual, very maybe a pressure to escape. With all this pressure, here's a big foot stomper. If you don't remember anything else, one of the main influences that you might feel this week, particularly on Tuesday when the moon goes through here in Neptune, the planet of escapism, with a bunch of pressure here, most of you might feel like escaping. And escaping can be just thinking about something more pleasant, or it might be going to extremes, like extreme sexual encounters or sex addictions or drugs or alcohol to more extreme levels, or gambling. All these are escapism, but not even that. I mean, you can escape by going to the gym. And we know from ACT therapy that if you're going in any form of escapism, it may not, most of these escapes create problems, but they don't always create problems. But at the very minimum, you're not going to get satisfied in even activities that normally feel good for you. So no escaping this week. Know that you might have a tendency to do that with that influence. But Mars has that opportunity with the Venus Sun. All right. So you got the pressure over here from Pluto pumping up the pressure to my self-identity or my relationship with myself. That whole complex that I just talked about has an opportunity outlet to Mars. But on Tuesday, Mars is sort of feels that pressure of emotions and false reality, what your perceptions are, false perceptions, etc. And it may go haywire. So that's why it's going to be really important to slow things down. I know, and this is the hard part. It's in Aries. The emphasis is in Aries. And then on top of that, with fire, these squares can feel like more fire on fire, conflict on fire, pressurized, hot air, etc. And hot air feeds the fire. So it might feel even more impulsive. And so our actions need to actually slow down this week. Now, the moon on Saturday, the 10th, getting closer to a new moon, just a day away. And we've lost a couple of the squares. That's because it was based in the moon. Let's see. What else? Everything else is I've already talked about. So let's move on. This is the new moon, Sunday, the 11th, at 22 degrees of Aries, 25 minutes. And now, because the moon is there, now we see a triple square with Pluto. So the new moon, with great emphasis, is obviously on Aries. It's a new cycle in identity, in getting stuff done, in really everything we just talked about because of the Venus influence. And this is a new cycle that has a pressure with the subconscious. So the problem here is you're going to maybe feel the pressure, but not really know what or why it's being pressurized. And so it's deep within. It's an expansive power because of the need to go out and do in this fire sign and complete and start. I think the more emphasis on this cycle is starting with Aries. And it's sort of an irony. You've got the impulsive action, the quick action, getting started. I don't know if procrastination is a big thing with Aries, but procrastination might be a little bit harder when you've got your subconscious sort of working against you. and conflicted in there. And so you see this, maybe you don't feel anything other than sort of an inner conflict. Well, that's what's happening. Maybe you sense it with self-doubt. And so you know what you needs to be done, but you don't really know how to get started. Well, that's another inner conflict, another pressure from the subconscious. Um there's there's okay, so the wise action is the only trine in the system right now at the time of the new moon, is this beautiful trine, air trine with Jupiter, expansive, positive, optimistic, and Mars, adaptable in Gemini, being able to get stuff done, wise action. That is really beneficial for all those things I just talked about with this Pluto influence. That tiny little planet, I don't know how or why it can have such an influence on us, and it's so far away. So it represents the really deep stuff. So you're not consciously aware of what's stopping you, and hence the gem or the diamond in the haystack. So obviously, then you're going to see that there's equal amounts of sextiles on either side. It's branded. This whole stamp is branded with triple on both sides, even balanced triple opportunities on both sides. So almost literally, it looks like diamonds in the haystack. No coincidence there. Then Monday, you see this same obvious optimistic willpower and expansive wise action. Lots of different ways you can look at that. And then the double-sided sextiles and opportunities. Wisdom informs self, and you know, if you want to see, maybe it starts with the sun and your place in the world, your this particular Aries cycle, my self identity. The opportunity is with optimistic Jupiter. There's no maleficence in Jupiter right now, just a nice, easy trine and opportunity galore. And so bringing in wisdom, and then your outlet is an opportunity to carry it out, carry out the action. But this Jupiter does give adaptability in an air sign, but it also informs self on seeking a little bit deeper within. That's Jupiter is the higher transcendent mind, and that implies that you're moving through the subconscious to get to Jupiter, or the Jupiter mind. Instead of, it's not like Jupiter's way up here, Mercury's down here. It's, for most theorists and even Edgar Cayce, the superconscious, which would be equated to Jupiter, is tapped in, going through the subconscious. So you're going through the Pluto influence and all that junk and all that pressure and all that conflict to get to the Jupiter mind, which is the opportunity. So it's all there, and the action is also there as an opportunity. So you're able to take subconscious pressure, transcend it, tap into the superconscious mind, the creative space that includes wise Jupiter and an optimistic Jupiter. Where my role is, that's in there too, because of the sun in Aries. And then taking that out into the world for real action. That's the willpower of Mars. Tuesday the 13th, pretty much the same, not a whole lot different. Venus is getting really close to transitioning back into homeland of Taurus. And same old. There we go. It's this is 12, this snapshot is at noon Central Standard Time on Wednesday the 14th, but later on the Wednesday, Venus will be returning home into Taurus. And we'll talk more about that in the next CIRF report. Okay. It'll feel nice to be home, and it'll be relationships much more practical, steady, foundational, experiential, finer things. it'll be real nice for your relationships. I'm thinking a nice turn from the more self-oriented relationships when Venus is in Aries. So that'll be the main difference. And then also the hidden finance aspect to Venus and the self-worth aspect to Taurus. And so that'll be interesting. Finance around Wednesday the 14th. Be looking for that as well. All right, let's get rid of the highlighter. And now we get into the I-Ching reading. Yeah, there's no change lines in this I-Ching. Hexagram 62. So attention to detail. We've seen this quite a bit before. And this is because there's no change lines, there's no second hexagram. So the influence is also the solution. So here's what we're looking at. Attention to small matters brings decent progress. And, you saw this with the Mars influence with that square. Just the square alone brings that pressure for self-doubt, but also the hidden subconscious conflicts, the inner conflicts are going to keep you from bigger, bolder progress. If you didn't have that Pluto square, multiple Pluto square from the subconscious, because of the Aries influence, you probably be able to have no problem just moving forward. It's not saying you can't move forward. In fact, you should be moving forward this week, but with smaller steps. That's all. No big steps here. A person whose resources are meager, but who, through modesty and perseverance, eventually rises to accomplish great things. The power of the small is served by slow and steady advancement. That's what we're looking for. And we'll get into the solution. I'll take my little micro break after, just before we get to the final slide. But looking for the solution is here. In terms of solution from this I-Ching, it's know your role, attend to details, and act with humility. You can achieve success even with few resources. Attention to detail is about few resources. And if you can imagine back to the diamond in the haystack, the big resource is the hay, but it's, metaphorically useless. And you're trying to brush away all this useless stuff, the chaff, and trying to get to the diamond in there. And that's conceptually what you're trying to do this week, actionally, as far as the solution goes. Attention to detail, finding the details. Now, put back on our highlighter, and this is our conversion slide. This is where we take the new moon and we plot it. You got the moon at 22 degrees with the sun, 22 degrees, Aries, 25 minutes. This one was from Sunday. And then you put it into the Rave Mandala, you get 42, and you get Sidereal Pisces. This is all to generate our solution. So let's first, before we get to the solution slide, let's talk about what Rave Mandala 42 is. This is the gate of maximizing the potential of beginnings through expansion. When I mention expansion, the rave is where that's coming from, but we already talked about other expansion like Jupiter. That's also helping this expansive feel. This is also the gate of bringing things to a close so that the next step can be taken. So what we're looking at is the potential for beginning a new cycle, but more importantly, the potential to complete the cycle. Let's look at this. Okay, the grail is the experience. The abstract being must be absorbed in the experience of the now in order to reflect on the experience later. The potential of growth is its power to mature through completion of each cycle. What did we just start with this new moon in Aries? A new cycle of identity and Aries archetypes. Here's the mantra: one thing at a time is its mantra. That is exactly what we got from Hexagram 62. The power of the small is served by slow and steady achievement. So it's a perfect match. Probably should have been a higher congruency score this week. Then when I took this picture of the lines, you have 6 lines in the hexagrams, and that's human design hexagrams. I initially thought it was diversification, but I went back and looked at I want to show you how I derived this. The new moon is plotted at 22 degrees, 25 minutes. And we have in this chart, you just look at I can zoom in. You can just look at, oh, it disappeared. Are you kidding me? 20, anyway, the sun is in this degree system. And so it's line 2, hexagram 42, line 2. That's how we say that. And here is what it reads. This is important. I wouldn't be saying this if it wasn't important. The upside, recognition and acute capitalization of trends, the power for growth through participating in trends. The downside, if you do this if you do this incorrectly, and ascetically motivated withdrawal in times of progressive change. Growth which stops in reaction to trends or change. In other words, you don't notice the trend, or you notice the trend and you react in the opposite manner of stopping in reaction, and that stops your growth. So in times of progressive change, that's what we're in now, is the power for growth through participating in trends. And what you're seeing now out in the world is definitely this. Lots of trends everywhere. States that are combating certain policies that are hypothesized to be coming down as tyrannical, and that feels nice. So we're going to get to the solution slide, but first, note from our sponsor, Intervention Therapy. And building on last week, we do have new opportunities. If you know of someone who would benefit from astrology reading or a human design reading, a loved one, then you can get a gift card. I don't yet have links or anything at the website, but you can just contact me at intervention.com and request a gift certificate of any amount, really. And you can even dictate who gets that, who's the recipient of that gift certificate. And thanks to QAmom, Cincy QAmom. Thanks, Jane, for that idea. I know it wasn't your idea, but your action was very beneficial for someone else, and it reminded me that I need to do that as well. All right, that's it. Let's get back to our final slide. And this is a depiction. Do you see the diamond in here? I'm convinced there is no diamond in there. I didn't find one, but you might find one. Anyway, it's realizing that in this mosh of experience that we call life this week, there's, no matter how ugly it looks or how messy it is or how much suffering is involved, there's a diamond in there. And then now we get to the solution slide to figure out how to behave and how to find that diamond. The I-Ching says attention to detail, know your role, attend to the details, act with humility. The Rave says gate of growth. It's the power to mature through the completion of a cycle. So imagine this, you've got a new moon in Aries, it's the start of a cycle, and you've got the Rave saying your power is to complete the cycle. So we're using with Neptune and conflicted, and even the moon when it wraps around there, it's going to be hard to imagine, but it's something you're going to have to do. Here, I'll explain here in a second. And then we have the Sidereal Pisces is compassionate, idealistic, connected, transcendent. So we're going to include that into our triangulation. And here we go. Hidden in every experience is the treasure, is the diamond. This week is attending to the small things. Stop, listen, experience. Everything that Aries doesn't do well, I'm asking you to try to remember to do this week. Instead of being impulsive, stop, listen, experience. Each hidden gem is the sextile or opportunity to expand, to grow, mature, to empower yourself. Back to the Aries influence. That's the power. I mean, that's the gift, is to empower yourself. Before action, visualize the complete cycle you're in. And I'm not talking about here the zodiacal cycle, Aries being the first in there, but it's very symbolic. You're in the first part of this, so you have to imagine going around a complete cycle. So see the beginning of it, see that you're in whatever cycle that you're in. I mean, this could be millions of different types of cycles for you personally. What cycle is that in? So see the beginning, visualize what the middle is like, but also, very importantly, according to the Rave, visualize the conclusion of that cycle. When is it estimated to be? What's the goal? What's the outcome? And so seeing the entire life cycle happening before you start your action is beneficial here. Use the Pisces gift of transcendence and psychic awareness to become aware of the deeper details, because it's that Pluto pressure. There's something there. Pluto wants to show you something. The subconscious wants to show you something. So deeper details, spiritual insights, that's the gift of the Pisces solution. The I-Ching and Pisces overlap with humility and compassion. So make sure you're using that, especially for yourself with this whole Aries flavor. Make sure your humility and compassion is for yourself. Worst action this week is escapism. We talked about with Neptune. Face challenges by identifying your role. That's the I-Ching. Even if it's just observing. So some action is just observing. Face the challenges by at least observing, and then doing everything I just talked about, the life cycle, imagining the whole cycle being completed, etc., etc., and then go do it. Extra credit to this week is locating the trends and participate. Don't forget about the trends. Some of us, like I think myself, is just naturally, my personality finds the trends, and I either agree to be a part of the trend or not participate in the trend. Well, this week it's about finding the trends that work for you, that match your value set, and really participating in that. Okay. And the trends are happening, by the way. I'm not saying the world's going to be fixed tomorrow or anything like that, but it's definitely happening. Find the details. In the details is the hidden gem. And then once you find it, it's deeply in the subconscious. It's gratitude. So hopefully all of you can find that end state of gratitude. And that will keep you from cycling into the meism or the selfishness that sort of Aries sort of maybe pushes a lot of us into. So nice fire energy to enact something. Nice start cycle of identity and self-searching. That's all positive stuff, but don't degrade into meism or selfishness. Not that you can't get anything done for yourself this week. The most important compassion is self-compassion this week, but after all said and done, make sure you check in with gratitude, and not even for anything, but just gratitude. That's it. Just gratitude. All right, folks, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I love your comments. I love the tribe that we have here, and I love all of our interaction. And it doesn't have to agree on everything. And but it sure is nice when you find like minds, isn't it? Thanks, everybody, and be blessed this week. Hope that you find your diamond in that haystack, but it takes work to find it. All right. See you next week. Bye.